It's your boy Roy Jadong here, back at it with another review. This is the Moergo Glove80 Split Ergonomic Keyboard. I want to share my thoughts on why I got this thing, some things I like and dislike, and wrap it up with some customizations I did. So why did I get this thing? For the past few months I had been cramming LeetCode and I started feeling it in my ring and pinky finger, just this tingling or numbing sensation. I'm pretty sure it was because when I used my keyboard, I would have my wrist like this. And when you're using your keyboard and mouse, you're supposed to keep your wrist as neutral as possible and not try to move it side to side or deviate from the neutral position. And what these split keyboards help with are to keep your arm shoulder width apart. And as you can see, when you put your hand here, it's just in a very stable neutral position, so it doesn't encourage any wrist movement whatsoever. Did a lot of research, and there's a lot of options for split keyboards, ergonomic keyboards. But from all the reviews I've read and research I've done, this seemed to be the most comfortable, and that's what I was indexing for. I wasn't looking to change the layout. I'm okay with QWERTY. I am a programmer, but I'm not willing to invest in relearning how to type completely from scratch. There is some relearning, but no, I don't want to get into the weeds on that. So when I got this thing, the biggest thing to adapt to was definitely this ortholinear layout. As you can see, there are all the keys are in a line, almost like a grid, so that's supposed to encourage less finger movement when you type, and I could definitely feel it. After getting used to it, I can say it was worth it, but getting there is definitely a hassle. Luckily, I am a touch typer, so I can type without looking at the keyboard, but it definitely there was a learning period, about a week, to really completely get used to this. I dove right in and just started using it for all my daily workflows, for work, for recreation, and that I think helped a lot. I used monkeytype.com to track my progress. It started at around 5-10 words per minute and gradually increased to around 40 after a week, and then I'm currently around 90 to 100 words per minute. And in a regular keyboard, I'm usually 120 or 130 words per minute. So one thing I really like about the placement is really the pinky keys. So basically the tab feels really close. You can't really see it in the video, but #production value. But it's very easy to reach the tab key. And I use that for Shift tab or Command tab to switch applications on the Mac. So some things I like, definitely the palm rest was actually something that was very surprising. Basically just resting my hand while I'm typing, my palm on the palm rest while I type, or just resting when I'm not typing, is actually extremely comfortable, and it really fits like a glove, as the Moergo motto says. And the second thing I really like is the thumb key, surprisingly. They're very easy to reach. I really only use these 3 keys, which I have mapped to Shift, Command, and this backspace. But for me, I think that's enough. These are less frequently used keys. And finally, the last thing I really like is the ease of customizability. Basically, because it's so easy to configure and swap the functionality of the keys, it actually encouraged me to make lots of changes and really customize the keyboard to my usage. With that, let's get into my customizations. Nothing really spectacular, just a few things I really appreciate. Other than the key letters, which are just your standard QWERTY, I changed this caps lock key to be caps word. So if you click on it and type a word, it will be all capital until you press a space. I moved the grave or tilde symbol here because I will use Command grave or Command tilde to switch windows for an application. So it's much easier to reach than reaching up here next to the 1 key. So I put this delete because I don't use this often. I think I did try to use home row mods, which means if I type or hold F and then type T, I can map this F to be a shift. So holding F and then pressing T would be a capital T. I tried that for a little bit, but I really could not get used to it. So I just ended up leaving the shift and other key modifier keys in the thumb cluster, and that helped a lot. I'll put my full layout in the description, but the only interesting or custom functionality here is I changed these shift and command keys to be one-shot keys. So that means if I type and hold shift and type T, this will be a capital T, or I can just press shift and press T, and the T will be a capital letter. So just pressing it once will basically act as if it's held, and the next key press, it will be capital. Last thing, I also customized this backspace key. So if I do shift backspace, it'll actually be an enter. I noticed that it does help to have backspace and enter accessible on the left hand when my right hand is using the mouse. That's pretty much it from the left side. Let's look at the right side. Look at this crazy mouse. I'll have a review of that in a bit. But basically here's the right side. Nothing spectacular. I'd say the main key callouts are I have my space key, enter key, and backspace, and these three keys in the thumb cluster that are most frequently used by me. Basically in my resting hand position, my thumb is on the space, and then I can very easily find enter or backspace. I rarely use the other three keys in the thumb cluster. Alt backspace would delete a word, and command backspace would delete the whole line, and I almost never use this shift. And other small customizations is I changed these F7, F8, and F9 to be volume control. So this F9 would be volume up, F8 volume down, and F7 mute. Other than that, very standard setup. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm definitely going to do a follow-up review. After using this keyboard, I definitely felt a lot less pain in my hand. I was feeling a lot of pain really in the center and under the ring and pinky fingers. And after using this, the pain drastically reduced. I'm still feeling tingles in my ring and pinky finger, but there's a lot of possible contributors to that, not just your keyboard and mouse. There's your chair height, desk height, monitor height, how much you work out, and a lot of considerations to really cure my self-diagnosed cubital tunnel syndrome. But anyway, let me know if you have any questions about this thing. There's also a Discord server that is very active, and I asked a lot of questions to configure this the way I wanted to. So very open community, very helpful. And yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.